got their names because we use them all the time, and not a lot of people know where these names came from. Each day of the week is historically connected to a celestial body up in the sky that we'll visit today. So we'll go through that. And most of the days of the week are actually named after Norse gods and goddesses from Norse mythology. So pretty cool. So my name's Erica, and we have JC helping out, and we are going to take you on this little journey. So first, a little background. The Norsemen were a group of people from Scandinavia, which is modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And the Norse were farmers and traders, and they traveled around the world trading things and talking to people from other countries. But the stories we usually hear about the Norsemen aren't that they were peaceful traders, but it's more about another occupation that they had, and this occupation was called the Viking. So Vikings were warriors who were very scary, and they fought very fiercely. And in fact, the word Viking actually translates in the Norse language to pirate raid. So they were thought of as pirates in their own language. When people in other countries saw the Viking ships with dragons carved on them land on their shores, they ran away very fast because Vikings were super scary. And their Norse mythology is full of stories about monsters, brave gods, and magic hammers. And I'll share a few of these Norse mythology stories with you today. So let's start with our first day of the week, which is Sunday. So let's go to the sun. So here we have all of our planets. And I'm going to take you over to the sun, which is our star that gives us heat and energy and light. Earth is 92.3 billion miles away from the sun, and this is one astronomical unit, 92.3 billion miles. You can see the sun here. We have a couple sunspots on there, which are cooler, darker areas of the sun that get kind of cooler and then heat up and shoot out these things called prominences, which are just little blasts of heat and energy that go out into space. So Sunday was originally called Sunna's Day, and it's named after the Norse goddess of the sun. Sunna was the sister of the moon, and it was her job to pull the sun across the sky. In the summer, when the days are very long, she takes her time to pull the sun across the sky. But in the winter, when the days are short, Sunna moves so quickly that it seems like something is chasing her. And this is because there's a wolf in Norse mythology called Skoll, and Skoll searches the skies hunting for Sunna. Sunna runs across the sky as fast as she can, and she is only safe after the sun is set, and Skoll loses her in the darkness. Thinking about how Sunna runs every night and how heavy the sun must be, Sunday is the best day to rest. Some people go to church on Sundays, some people make it a family day, and if you want to be like the Norse, make sure you play outside on Sundays and enjoy all of the sunshine. So here is Sunday, named after the Norse goddess Sunna and the sun. Next, let's go to our next day of the week, Monday. Monday is named after the moon, the god of the moon in Norse mythology. So there's a shadow on the moon. You can see it's a half moon right now. So let's get rid of that shadow. So Monday is named after the Norse god Mani, and it was originally called Mondag. And it's named after Sunna's brother, Mani the moon. Mani is very lonely, and he does not get to see his sister very often. Mani loves children, and he decided to adopt two children, a boy and a girl. They carry water for him, and as the boy and the girl fill a big tub of water and walk up the hill, you can see that the moon gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But then when the boy and the girl get close to the top of the hill, they end up tumbling down, spilling all of the water, and the moon gets bigger and bigger. So does this story remind you guys of anything? Any nursery rhymes, for example, with a girl and a boy walking to the top of the hill and tumbling down? So if you guessed Jack and Jill, you're absolutely right. So this is kind of a nursery rhyme that's very, very similar to Jack and Jill. So like Sana, his sister, a wolf also chases Mani, the moon. So whenever an eclipse would happen, it was thought that the wolf was about to catch the moon. So whenever this would happen and they saw the eclipse across the sky, the Norse people would make as much noise as possible by howling at the moon to distract the wolf and keep Mani safe. So whenever you guys see an eclipse, you can practice that and howl at the moon to try to chase the wolf away. Since the week is just beginning, Monday is also a great day for planning your school week and then treating yourself to something fun on the weekend. So we are going to go to our next day, Tuesday. Tuesday, we are going to go over to the planet Mars. Let's go over there. So Tuesday was originally called Tyr's Day after the Norse god of war Tyr, who was the son of Odin, the king of the gods. This day is associated with Mars because Tyr was a one-handed warrior god and the god of the sword. It's believed that Tuesday is actually the best day to start a war. So if you have to pick a fight with your brother or sister, Tuesday is the best day to do it. So think about that. It's fun to note too that Mars is also named after the Roman god of war. His Greek name was Ares, and this is because Mars is red. So many ancient people from different cultures around the world thought that this planet was made of blood because they look up at the sky and they saw a red dot and they just thought, yeah, that's made of blood. So pretty cool that a lot of different cultures named it after their war god. So not too much to say about Tyr. He doesn't have very many stories in Norse mythology. His most famous is about how he raised a little wolf cub called Fenrir from a little cub all the way to a big, huge, strong wolf. And his dad was very afraid of Fenrir the wolf. So that's a pretty cool story. And we'll talk about that a little bit when we get to the end of Constellations. So let's go to our next planet, which is Mercury. And our next day of the week, which is Wednesday. So Mercury, you can see, is the closest planet to the sun. Also our smallest planet. So here's Mercury. It looks very similar to our moon because it's covered in craters. Mercury is associated with Wednesday, and it's named after the king of the Norse gods. So we get the word Wednesday from Woden's Day or Odin's Day, and Wednesday, it's in the middle of the week. So there's a lot of thought that it's associated with wisdom and kind of thinking things through. So Odin was a very smart king who was very generous and understanding. He drank out of the well of Mimir that contained all of the wisdom in the world, but he had to give the guardian of the well one of his eyes in order to access the well and all of this knowledge. So Odin is also depicted or seen as wearing an eye patch. But after he drank from the well, he knew everything in the world. Odin had two ravens, Thought and Memory, who would go around the world collecting wisdom for him. So to honor Odin, Wednesday is a day for being wise. So if Tuesday is the day to start a war, Wednesday is the day to think about how to make peace. All right, let's go to our next day of the week, which is Thursday, and it is associated with the planet Jupiter. So this is named after a lot of people's favorite Norse gods. Thursday is named after the god of thunder, Thor. So it's known as Thor's Day or Thor's Day. He represents the planet Jupiter, the largest of our planets, and Thor's Day is believed to be the day when magic works best. So it's the best day to try to play a new game because you're most likely to win, or it's a great day for trying out a magic trick because you'll succeed. Thor was a very popular Norse god, and this was because he was the god of the common folk. So whereas Odin was the god of kind of kings and princes, Thor was the god of fishermen and farmers. And he was seen as a very friendly and brave warrior. He's not depicted as being very smart, but he's very strong and brave and handsome. So since Thor was so popular, I thought it would be fun to tell you one of his most favorite myths, which is the story about Thor's true love. So Thor's wife was the beautiful Lady Sif, and he loved her for her blue eyes, her red lips, her bright smile, and her long golden hair. Thor woke up one morning and he yelped. Then he tapped his wife with his huge hand and he said, "What the heck happened to you?" Lady Sif opened her eyes and said, "What are you talking about?" She reached her hand up to her bald pink scalp, horrified. "My hair, it's gone." Thor, with a face like thunder, said, "He has left you bald." "Who?" said Lady Sif, but Thor was already out of bed, racing out of his home and into Loki's palace. Loki, the god of mischief, found himself cornered by Thor. "Why did you do it? Why did you cut off my wife's golden hair?" 100 expressions chased themselves across Loki's face. Thor shook Loki very hard, and finally Loki admitted, "I had a lot of meat to drink. It was funny." In a rage, Thor threatened to break every bone in Loki's body unless he fixed it. Loki thought quickly. He promised Thor he would go to the dwarfs, and get them to craft Lady Sif new hair out of spun gold that was even more beautiful than her real hair. When Loki traveled to Svartalheim, the land of the dwarfs, a plan formed. Why return from the land of the dwarfs with one treasure when he could come back with 6 treasures? And so he convinced 2 sets of dwarf brothers to compete against each other to see who can make the greatest treasure for the gods. The first set of brothers was tasked with creating Sif's new head of hair and 2 additional treasures. The second set of brothers was more suspicious of Loki and decided to make things interesting. "We will only compete," said the elder brother, "if we win something too. If we win, we get to keep your head." Loki kept smiling but was frowning on the inside. Well, he just wouldn't tell them about Sif's hair. The first set of brothers would surely win since they were giving Thor something that he wanted more than anything. After weeks of work, the day of the contest finally came. The dwarfs must present their treasures to a panel of the most powerful gods: Odin the Allfather, Frey, the Lord of the Harvest, and Thor, the Thunder God. The first set of brothers approached. The first treasure was presented to Odin, a beautiful spear carved with magical runes that would always hit its mark. Odin was very impressed. The second gift went to Frey, a small piece of cloth that was unfolded into a giant ship. Frey was very impressed. The third gift went to Thor, 1,000 strands of gold woven into a wig for Lady Sif. It would grow and behave like real hair, but shine more radiant than the sun. Thor loved the gift and immediately placed it on his beautiful wife's head. Loki smiled, for the gods loved their gifts. There's no way he was losing his head today. We're going to scroll back out and just do a little bit of the universe while I finish telling this story. So now it was time for the second set of brothers to approach the panel of gods. The second set of brothers approached and presented their gifts. The first gift was a golden bracelet presented to Odin that would produce 8 copies of itself every 9th night. The second gift? The Odin was very, very happy with this gift because he could reward people with it, or he could keep all of these bracelets and become very wealthy himself. So Odin was very pleased. The second gift went to Frey, a huge pig with bristles of gold to pull his chariot. It would never get tired, and it would always shine in the darkness. Frey was very pleased. Loki snickered to himself. Sure, these gods were impressed, but so was the first set of gifts. They were impressed by those too. There's no way Thor will like this gift more than he liked Lady Sif's new hair. The third gift went to Thor, a shining hammer. Thor looked at it. "The handle is kind of short," he said. "Yes," said the dwarf, "but this hammer is my masterpiece. Its name is Mjolnir, the lightning maker. It is unbreakable and it will never miss its mark, and it will always return to your hand. It will also grow grow very large or shrink down so small that you can put it in your pocket. Thor clapped his hands together, smiling, for he was always losing or breaking his weapons. "This is the greatest treasure I've ever seen," he said. "I want to test it out immediately." Loki was angry, and he asked them, all of the gods, to look at how great the other treasures were. "Look at this spear! Look at this boat! Look at Lady Sif's hair!" But Thor was already playing with his hammer Mjolnir and was no longer listening to Loki. The dwarf tapped Loki on the shoulder. "I see that we have won our bet. Now I need to take your head." Loki panicked and said, "I said you could have my head, but I never said you could cut off my neck." "I can work with that," said the dwarf. Then Loki ran for it. He ran down the great hall yelling, "Ah!" and he headed outside. And that's when he felt a thud and everything went black. He woke up staring at Thor, holding his hammer. "This thing is great," Thor said. "It took him down in one hit." Loki tried to respond, but the dwarves had stitched his mouth shut with an unbreakable string. Loki began to cry because talking was his favorite thing in the world. Thor hit him heavily on the shoulder. "Thank you for the hammer, my friend," he said as he walked away. And that is how the gods got their greatest treasures and how Thor found his true love, his hammer Mjolnir. Alright, and that is our Thor story. So we are going to go to our next day of the week, which is Friday. And Friday is named after the goddess Frigg or Freya, and it's associated with the planet Venus. So let's go over to Venus. Venus is covered by shadow. This shadow is being cast by Earth because Venus is in between us and the sun. So let's move a little into the future where we can see Venus a little bit better. So Venus is the goddess that is associated with love and beauty in Roman mythology, and it's the same with Norse mythology. So it's named after Frigg or Freya, who was the love goddess who was married to Odin, the king of the gods. So she was the queen of the Norse gods. And it's where we get the word Friday from. So Freya's day. Since it's the last day of the week, the work week or the school week, it's a day for having fun. So it's a good day to tell someone that you love them as well, since it's named after the love goddess. So Friday's a day for having fun and telling people that you love them. So a little quick story that I have about Freya, the love goddess. Freya is usually in Norse mythology depicted as a damsel in distress who needs to be rescued from big, ugly giants who try to marry her. But Freya was also a very private woman about her dating life. She didn't really like to kiss and tell, and she didn't really like it when people spread rumors about her. So one day she decided to throw a party. She invited all of the Norse gods except for Loki because she really didn't like him. He was always causing trouble. The party was going very well when Loki stumbled in with a big glass of mead in his hand. He pointed to each of the gods and goddesses in turn and started trash-talking them and insulting them. He said to Njord, the god of the sea, "You smell like fish." And he said to Thor, "You're a big dummy head." The gods just laughed it off, and then Loki pointed at Freya. It got very, very quiet, and Loki finally said, "You're a floozy, Freya. I see you hugging all the gods and kissing all the elves." Freya just waved him off. "Go away, Loki. You are as annoying as flies buzzing around me." This made Loki very mad. He glared at her, and he said very loudly, "You hug and kiss all the boys, but you also have the loudest, stinkiest farts that I have ever smelled." At this, Freya's face went bright red. All of the people at the party started laughing, and Freya ran at Loki, punching him in the nose. Her twin brother Frey pulled her off of him, and they kicked Loki out of the party and into the street, but the damage had already been done. The gods knew that Freya did not hug and kiss all the boys. They knew that, and she didn't react to that. But she did react very strongly to that fart joke. So strongly that it must have been true. So that's our Freya story. Our last planet is associated with our last day of the week, which is Saturday. And you should not be too shocked to find out that this is the planet Saturn. So let's go over to that planet. So Saturday is the only day of the week that we do not get the name from a Norse god. The Norse people actually called it Lørdag, and in Norway, Lørdag translates to the wash day, so it was a good day to wash your clothes. It's the only day that we associate with a Roman god instead of a Norse god. So it's named after Saturnus, or Kronos, so it's named as Saturnus's day, Saturn's day. So he was the king of time, or the god of time and festivals. So Saturday is a really good day to have a party and just relax. So not too much to say about that because it's our Roman gods, but what we're going to do next is we're actually going to put up the Norse constellations for you guys, since we've been talking so much about the days of the week in Norse mythology. We will change it up so that we see the Norse constellations. So real quick, I'm going to show you what our Greek constellations look like. These are the constellations that we're used to seeing. So these are from, a lot of these are from Greek mythology. And I'm going to change it over to our Norse constellations. All right, here's our Norse constellations. So up here, you guys can see we have man's part and woman's part. So man's part is, this is where our Big Dipper is, Ursa Major. So if I take the pictures away for just a second, you can see Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, and woman's part, you can see Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper. So the story behind these is pretty easy. So man's part is, it's called in the Nordic countries Karl of Vagnen. Karl of Vagnen, the chariot of Karl. And in Norse times, the word Karl just meant man, so it just translates to man's chariot, because chariots were a form of transportation. And then woman's part was the same. The constellation is usually associated with the goddess Frigg or Freya, and you can see that she is going to battle as well, because in the Norse people, they had their shield maidens, so the women would go into battle and be warriors just like the men, so it's pretty cool. A lot of the Norse culture is very, and Scandinavian culture, is very equal between men and women. So men could own property as well as women could own property. Women were allowed to get divorces. They were allowed to own things. So yeah, they're very equal, which is really neat. The next one that you guys can see right now, this is called Arnvandil's toe. So if I take the picture away, you can see Arnvandil's toe. This constellation has a little story attached to it. So one day Thor was journeying through the land of the giants, which name was Jotunheim, land of the giants, and he came across a very, very wise human named Arvandil. And Arvandil had been a captive of the giants, and he had escaped them, and he was running away. So Thor decided that he would help Arvandil escape. The sky was very dark, and the stars were very faint. So they ended up losing their way while they were traveling south, and they came to an icy stream. Thor knew that Arvandil would never be able to survive the freezing cold waters of the stream, and so he had a basket, and he put Arvandil on the basket, and then he carried it across the river on his back. When they found a safe place to camp, Arvandil had trouble getting out of the basket, and they realized that his big toe had stuck out of the basket while they were crossing the stream, and had touched the icy cold water and was now frozen and bright blue. Thor just kind of shrugged. He broke off the toe, and he threw it up in the sky to light their way. So you can still see it up there, a bright blue star that we call Sirius the Dog Star. So pretty cool. So let me move the sky around so we can see the rest of the constellations. Alright, so you can see the Aesir battlefield. So the Aesir battlefield, the story behind that constellation is that it's based on Thor, a big battle that happened between the Aesir gods, who were Odin, Thor, Tyr, and then the Vanir gods, who were gods of nature and magic, like Freya and Freya. The war ended when both sides grew tired of fighting and ended up calling for peace. And then we see the fisherman. So the fisherman is the constellation that we associate with Orion the hunter. That was named by the Greeks. So the Norse called it fishermen since fishing was such a big part of their diet, especially when they were out at sea for months doing their trading or, doing their Viking raids. And then the last one that we have is Wolf's Mouth. And Wolf's Mouth is a constellation that's named after the wolf Fenrir. So we talked about Fenrir earlier. This is the wolf cub that Tyr, the god of war, raised. And it could also symbolize the wolves that chase the sun and the moon in the sky as well. So pretty cool. All right, so we have a couple more minutes left. So I have one more story for you guys, and it is another Thor story, and it's pretty fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the sky to move a little bit while I tell this last story about Thor. So once upon a time, Thor went to bed every single night with his true love Mjolnir by his side. Mjolnir was the biggest, hardest hammer that was ever made, but Thor could knock down mountains and squash cities with it, but at night he would snuggle up with it like it was a teddy bear. One day, Thor woke up to find his hammer missing. Apparently, he had been snoring so loud that a giant had tiptoed into his bedroom and stolen Mjolnir. Thor's wife, the Lady Sif, hated Thor's snoring, and she laughed that he was snoring so loud a giant tiptoed in. So she was not very sympathetic. When Thor realized his hammer was gone, he threw the giant temper tantrum so loud and so strong that it shook the treetops. The clouds blackened and thunder shook the ground. When the other gods found out what had happened, they rushed to help Thor. Because his hammer was important, it protected them from all of their enemies. Loki transformed into an eagle and he went to search for the hammer. He eventually found it in the land of the giants. When Loki returned, he called a council of the gods, and he looked at all of them with a sad expression on his face. But when he met Freya's eyes, he smiled. Freya frowned, for she hated Loki more than anyone, and his smile made her skin crawl. "Well," said Loki smugly, "I have found Thor's hammer. Thrym, the king of the giants, is holding it hostage. He is buried at 8 miles under the earth, and he only asks one thing for its return, that the beautiful Freya be his wife." Thor was delighted. "What a simple thing," he said, laughing. "Freya, put on your bridal gown and pack your things. We need you to marry Thrym before he changes his mind. And try to smile. It is your wedding day." That's when the gods noticed that the ground was shaking. Thor looked at Freya and his blood went cold. "You must have lost your tiny little mind," shouted Freya. "You lost your hammer, so start digging." And she took off her heavy necklace of jewels and started hitting Thor with it before she rushed out of the Great Hall. The gods stood in silence. Loki finally said, "Well, that went well." All of the gods talked and argued, but no one could agree on what to do, and Loki shot down every single plan. In the end, only one god had not spoken, Heimdall, the guardian of the Bifrost, who sees everything. "I have an idea," said Heimdall in his deep voice. "But Thor, you will not like it." Thor banged his fist on the table. "It doesn't matter. I will do anything to get Mjolnir back." Heimdall said again, "Okay, but you won't like it." Then Heimdall laid out the most brilliant plan. They would indeed bring a bride to the land of the giants for her wedding, but it would not be Freya. Thor would take her place. Thor did not like this plan. "It's a terrible idea, terrible. What will people think if I start dressing in women's clothing? And I've got a beard. I can't shave off my beard." Loki said, "Shut up, Thor. It's an excellent idea. We will put you under a bridal veil, which will hide your face and your beard. I will even go with you as a bridesmaid." So all of the goddesses prepared Thor for his wedding day. They dressed him up in the finest clothes only a wealthy lady would wear, bright fabrics and a long dress covered in flowers and jewels. Freya was the most excited to help dress Thor, for she was the goddess of love and beauty. She even put her necklace of jewels around Thor's thick neck, so he shined like the stars. "Try to smile," Freya said. "It is your wedding day." They covered his angry face with a thick veil so only his eyes could be seen, and placed a beautiful bridal crown on his head. Loki the trickster shifted his shape, and he became a pretty bridesmaid. "How do I look?" he giggled daintily. Thor just grunted. Ugh. They left for the land of the giants, Thor dragging his feet under his wedding dress. Thrym, the king of the giants, saw the bridal party coming. He quickly set up a wedding feast and went to greet his new bride. Thrym was captivated by how Thor's figure filled out a dress. "So this is the lovely Freya," he said. "The tales of your beauty travel far and wide. You look like a solid woman who will give me many children. Come inside." Thor and Loki followed him into the banquet hall. Thor could not contain the panic in his voice. "What if he wants me to sit next to him?" Loki replied. "Well, you are the bride. You should sit next to him." Thor's voice got higher with panic. "What if he tries to kiss me?" Loki laughed and said, "Don't worry, beautiful bride. I will protect your honor. I will sit between you two and tell him it is our custom." And so they took their seats. Thrym clapped his hands, and giant-sized quantities of food and drink were brought out. For a brief time, Thor forgot about being a bride, and he just enjoyed the feast. He ate an entire ox, and then he ate 9 salmon. Every time he ate a salmon whole, he'd make it disappear like a magic trick, pulling the bones out of his mouth. Every time a tray of desserts was brought out, he ate it all, not sharing anything. Loki kicked him under the table to stop it, but Thor was so happy and he just kept eating. "Amazing," said Thrym, king of the giants, with genuine respect. "The lovely Freya has just finished off her 3rd barrel of mead. I have never seen a woman eat so much food or drink so much mead." And then Thor let out a giant burp. Loki quickly said in a girly voice, "She's just so excited about the wedding. She has not eaten in 8 days and 8 nights. It's so good to see you eating again, my dear." Thrym was so in love that he said, "Dear Freya, might I kiss you?" He lifted the veil and leapt back. "Her eyes, they are terrifying. They are not the eyes of a beautiful woman. They burn with fire." Loki quickly responded, "Passion. They burn with passion for you. She is so in love with you that she has not slept in 8 days. Thrym was very satisfied with that answer, and he smiled happily. "It is time," said Thrym. "I cannot wait any more to see my beautiful bride. Let the wedding begin. Bring in Mjolnir and place it in my new bride's lap." The hammer was so heavy that it took 4 giants to carry it in, and they placed it on Thor's lap. "Please, let me hear your sweet voice, my love," said Thrym. "My sweetness. Here is the hammer. Tell me that you love me. What do you say?" Thor held his hammer with a hand covered in sparkling gold and jeweled rings. He squeezed it reassuringly, and then he laughed a deep, booming laugh. "What I say," he said, "is that you should not have taken my hammer." He hit Thrym once, but that was all it took. The giant did not rise again. Chaos erupted at the wedding feast, and Thor attacked the giants with his hammer. Afterwards, Loki climbed out from under a table. Thor had taken off his silly bridal gown and was just wearing his undershirt. "Do you feel better?" asked Loki. "You know," said Thor, "that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I got my hammer back and I had a really good dinner. Let's go home." And that is our last story. So I am going to take the constellations away and bring our planets back. So hopefully you guys had some fun and you learned a lot about the days of the week and how they got their names. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or as the ancient Norse people called them, Sunna's Day, Mondag's Day, Tyr's Day, Woden's Day, Thor's Day, Freya's Day, and Saturnus. So thank you so much for joining us, and stay healthy and have a wonderful week. Take care.